Bitcoin trades flat while other major cryptos nurses losses. Yeah, right now, Bitcoin, even though Bitcoin's down a little bit, slightly down a little bit, but a lot of alts are tanking right now. A lot of selling, a lot of turbulence, right? A lot of people scared. There are so many people scared right now. Like I said, short-term traders, short-term speculators, retail investors, the ones that have not been in this space for a long time, unfortunately, they are scared. Let me reassure you guys a little bit, just slightly. Our current bull cycle, we are outpacing historical patterns by at least 100 days, right? A lot of you guys know that earlier this year, we shot up to the moon. Okay, we were not supposed to based on historical patterns. We were never supposed to break through our previous high that early in the cycle. We have never, ever, ever broken through a previous high that early before a halving event. But we did because we got ETFs and we got FOMO, right? But unfortunately, we got used to that. And since March till now, we've been going sideways, and you could argue we've been going downwards too. So because of it, it kind of seems a little depressing, a little bit, because the excitement has been taken away from us for like 6 months. But the reality of the situation is, had this been any other cycle, we would never have gotten that excitement in the first place, because we are ahead by a lot, by at least 3 months versus previous cycles, right? So if you're thinking, well, you know, the cycle may be over due to all the things that's going on right now, well, no. We're still ahead of the game. We're still very early. Keep in mind, this is the halving year. This is not the final year of the 4-year cycle. That is next year. We have an entire year to go. But we are in October, and we're going to end this year fantastically. So we still have a long ways to go, right? Just because we're starting out October bad, just like we did in September, let's not forget the first few weeks of September was absolutely horrendous as well. And we ended up September in the green. Very well could happen in October and leads us into November, December. This is a measurement just where we are in the cycle versus previous cycles, showing where we are to relative to the top of the cycle. Again, may not mean much, but we have gone through enough cycles where we can measure this out, and we're just nowhere close to the top. Nowhere close to the top, okay? If we were, this would show it. Some people will speculate, well, 73,000 is our top of the cycle. No, it's not. We will get to it again. We will break through it, and that's why we, as long-term holders, are holding on to dear life, if you don't know what that means, right? Or hodling. I like to call it holding. But anyways, and you just have to pay attention, because not only long-term holders, but so many others are doing the same thing. And what I mean is companies and institutions. Metaplanet, who's desperately trying to follow what MicroStrategy is doing, they keep loading up, but they don't have enough monies. Now they're selling put options, okay, to try to earn income based on the BTC they hold, right? Because they just want as much Bitcoin as they can. They can't raise nearly as much money as MicroStrategy, but they're trying desperately to do what they can to earn income so that they can buy more. And those of you guys that know anything about options, basically if you sell put options, you're essentially loaning out, basically. You're loaning out, I forgot how it works, but you're essentially promising to sell your Bitcoin at a lower price, and you're earning the premium for that. And someone else who wants to buy at a lower price is paying you the premium. So basically, you're essentially making money. But if it goes to a certain price, then you have to sell it. I think that's how selling put options work. But I think selling put options is at a higher price. I'm sorry, not at a lower price. It's at a higher price. So yeah, anyways, my point is they are trying to basically stack sats however they can because they believe in Bitcoin, or at least the leader of Metaplanet does, right? Just like MicroStrategy and Michael Saylor. And same thing with all the others that have now embraced the Bitcoin strategy. And as for, Bitcoin and how I just got done saying it's ahead of the game, right? 100 days ahead of historical patterns. I mean, I talked about how in March, we just, we blew up in March, right? If we were following previous patterns, we should have never gone that high, but we did. And that's not a bad thing. And relatively speaking, where we are now is still ain't that bad. But what's better is what's to come. And if you give up now, that's where you're giving up. You're giving up what's to come. And that is the most important part of any cycle, the tail end, the parabolic phase that is coming. And every single cycle, guys, every single cycle, we go through the same thing where there's kind of like this despair, there's volatility, there's disruptions, distractions, there's turbulence, and people give up, and then all of a sudden, the parabolic bull run comes, and that's when they realize, or the ones that sold out realize they made a mistake. Every single time. Every single cycle is always the same way. Every single time. So that's why you got to be strong. You got to stay strong and stay focused on the future. Now, we know there are many things coming up, right? Many, many, many things coming up. The elections is coming up. That is next month in November, right? And we also have another FOMC meeting coming up in November. But when does Bitcoin usually go up? Well, it goes up, it starts in October. That's why it's called Uptober. But if you look at Bitcoin's trajectory after elections, it's to the moon, right? Like every single time it goes up to the moon. And it just so happened the last 3 times we had 3 new presidents. And this time around, we're going to get a new president too. So if you look at the last 3 times, Bitcoin went up to the moon after election. So that could be a big catalyst that's also coming up later this year. And again, looking at this cycle, where we are versus previous cycles, this is where we are versus previous cycles. So again, if you look at historical trends, this is definitely not the time to be scared out of the market, right? You don't have to be a crypto nerd to understand what this is showing, okay? What's about to come is phenomenal, and you definitely don't want to miss it.